If someone had told me that sitting at the wrong table would completely change my life, I would have laughed in their face. But here I am, 3 months later, looking at the engagement ring on my finger and wondering how the hell a coffee shop waitress who's been wearing the same jeans for 5 years managed to capture the attention of Manhattan's most feared man. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It all started on a rainy Tuesday in October, when my best friend Darcy convinced me to go on a blind date. Clover, you're 26 years old, and your last romantic interaction was with the pizza delivery guy who gave you an extra napkin, Darcy had said, gesturing dramatically with her cappuccino cup. That doesn't count as flirting. He smiled at me, I defended myself, knowing it was pathetic. He smiles at everyone. It's in the pizzeria training manual. And that's how I found myself, on that fateful Tuesday, wearing the only decent dress I owned, a navy blue number I bought on clearance 2 years ago, and walking into Lumiere, a French restaurant so elegant I felt like I should apologize to the carpet for stepping on it with my $40 shoes. The maitre d', a man with an impeccable mustache and an air of superiority, looked me up and down with that expression that clearly said, "You're lost, dear." "Good evening," I forced my most confident smile. "I have a reservation. The name should be under—" I nervously checked my phone. "Marcus Thompson?" He checked his list with the speed of a bored turtle. "Table 17, in the back, to the left." I followed his directions, heart pounding. Darcy had shown me a blurry photo of Marcus, friend of a cousin of a coworker, and all I could make out was dark hair and a smile. Good enough, I'd thought at the time. Such low standards, Clover. The restaurant's lighting was that kind of romantic dimness that's beautiful in movies, but in real life just makes you trip over everything. I weaved around tables where beautiful people ate expensive food and did that thing of laughing discreetly that rich people do. I saw table 17. A man was sitting with his back to me looking at his phone. Dark hair. Check. Expensive suit. Well, Marcus had said he was an accountant, so that made sense. I took a deep breath, smoothing my dress for the 10th time, and approached. "Hi. Sorry I'm late. The subway was a mess and—" He looked up, and my brain just stopped. Because the man in front of me wasn't a friend of a cousin of a coworker. The man in front of me was a Greek sculpture that decided to wear Armani and torment human hearts. Chiseled jaw, amber-colored eyes that seemed to see through your soul, perfectly sculpted lips that had probably never smiled at something as mundane as an internet meme. And those amber eyes analyzed me from head to toe with an intensity that made me feel simultaneously naked and under judgment. "You're late," he said, and my God, even his voice was unfair. Deep, velvety, with a touch of irritation that somehow sounded sexy. Yes, sorry." "Subway," I repeated, eloquent as always under pressure. He sighed, as if my existence were a personal inconvenience, and gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit down. Let's get this over with." Get this over with? What kind of romantic was this Marcus? I sat down awkwardly, dropping my purse in the process. Of course, because Grace was my middle name. "So," I began, trying to break the glacial ice that seemed to emanate from him. "You're an accountant?" He blinked. Once. Slowly. As if I had just asked if he was a unicorn. "Accountant," he repeated, and there was something dangerous in that tone. "Yes, Darcy said you were an accountant. It must be interesting with the numbers and taxes. And—" I was rambling. "Help." "Darcy." He pronounced the name as if he were tasting something bitter. "I don't know any Darcy." A chill ran down my spine. "But you are Marcus Thompson, right? Friend of Darcy's co-worker's cousin?" Something changed in his face. A spark of something. Amusement. Interest. Pure sadism. "No," he said slowly, leaning back in his chair like a predator watching confused prey. "I'm not." The blood drained from my face. Oh my God. "My name is Thaddeus Payne. Thaddeus Payne. Thaddeus Payne." Even I, who lived in a bubble of cheap coffee and streaming series, Knew that name. CEO of Payne Industries. Billionaire. And, according to last month's Forbes magazine that I read in the dentist's waiting room, New York's most coveted and unattainable bachelor. Also known as the Tyrant of Manhattan for his reputation of destroying competitors and making grown executives cry. This is table 17? My voice came out 3 octaves higher than normal. 18, he corrected, and I swear. I saw the corner of his mouth lift minimally. But continue. I'm fascinated by this theory that I'm an accountant. Oh God, I'm sitting at the wrong table. I'm at your reservation. I need to... I started to get up, but he raised a hand. Stay. It wasn't a request. It was an order. And my traitorous backside obeyed, sitting back down. Mr. Payne, I'm so sorry. It was an honest mistake. The maitre d' said 17, and I... You thought I was an accountant named Marcus. He seemed to be enjoying himself now, which was infinitely more terrifying than his annoyed face. And you came on a blind date. Technically, it wasn't blind because Darcy showed me a photo, but it was really blurry and... Stop talking, he said, but not with anger. With curiosity? What's your name? Clover. Clover Whitley. Clover, he repeated, as if testing the sound, like the plant. My mother was a hippie. Why did I say that? Why did my brain, under pressure, decide to share unnecessary details? A waiter appeared, clearly nervous in the presence of Thaddeus Payne. Mr. Payne, the lady has arrived. May I bring the appetizer? The lady, I repeated, the penny finally dropping with the force of a grand piano. Oh no, you're expecting someone. Of course you are. Probably someone beautiful and elegant who knows which fork to use and would never sit at the wrong table because people like you don't make mistakes like this and I'll just... Sit down, he ordered again when I started to get up. Then, to the waiter, cancel the other reservation. Miss Whitley will be staying. What? My voice echoed through the restaurant. Several heads turned. I wanted the floor to swallow me. You heard me. But your companion, Mool, will be informed that I no longer require her services tonight. The way he said services made me understand that this wasn't exactly a romantic date. It was a business meeting, a transaction. Had I interrupted something important? Mr. Payne, I can't just... You can. You will. He picked up the menu as if the matter was settled. And you're going to explain to me what exactly a woman wearing a clearance dress and shoes that are begging for retirement is doing on a blind date at Lumiere. I looked at my shoes. They really were bad. How do you know the dress is from clearance? The price tag is still stuck to the inner seam. It's showing. I wanted to die. Just that. Die. Okay. That's officially the most humiliating moment of my life. The night's not over yet, he said, and this time I'm sure I saw a smile. Small, quick, but definitely a smile. And it was in that moment, with my clearance dress and my deplorable shoes, sitting at the wrong table in front of the most dangerous man in New York, that I felt something impossible happen. A spark. A damn spark of attraction that made absolutely no sense. Thaddeus Payne was watching me with those amber eyes, and there was something there, curiosity, interest, amusement, that shouldn't have been present on the face of a man known for his coldness. So Clover, he leaned back, the name sounding sinful on his lips. Tell me about this lucky Marcus who will never know what he missed. And so, at the wrong table, with the wrong man, began the rightest story of my life. I should have left. Any sane person would have apologized profusely and run out of Lumiere like their hair was on fire. But sanity, apparently, had taken a vacation the moment Thaddeus Payne told me to stay. Marcus is... Well, I've never actually met him, I admitted, watching as Thaddeus studied the wine list with the intensity most people reserve for life-or-death decisions. Darcy set it up. She said I needed to get back out there. And where, exactly, have you been? He glanced up, amber eyes catching the candlelight in a way that should be illegal. Working double shifts at Brew Haven. It's a coffee shop in Brooklyn. I'm saving for... I stopped myself. Why was I telling him this? For? He leaned forward slightly, and I realized with a jolt that he was actually interested. Culinary school, I said quietly. I want to be a pastry chef. Something flickered across his face. You work at a coffee shop but want to make desserts? Is that funny to you? Defensive Clover was emerging, the one who'd spent years being underestimated. No. His answer was immediate, firm. I'm trying to understand why someone with ambition is wasting time on blind dates with accountants named Marcus. Because, I said, surprising myself with my honesty, sometimes lonely feels heavier than ambition. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was weighted, meaningful. Thaddeus Payne, the tyrant of Manhattan, was looking at me like I just said something profound instead of pathetically honest. The waiter returned, and Thaddeus ordered in flawless French. I caught maybe 3 words, one of them being champagne. I don't speak French, I blurted out when the waiter left. I know. That almost smile again. You look like you're trying to decode hieroglyphics when you read the menu. Are you always this observant, or am I special? I'm always observant. Whether you're special... He paused, taking a sip of water. That remains to be seen. My heart did a stupid little flip. So, what was this dinner supposed to be? Before I crashed it? I asked, needing to understand what I'd interrupted. A transaction, he said simply. Victoria Ashford, venture capitalist. She wanted a meeting, and I had an opening. You schedule business meetings during dinner at romantic restaurants? The restaurant wasn't my choice. Victoria assumed it would soften me. He said it like the concept was absurd. People think expensive wine and candlelight will make me more agreeable to their proposals. Does it work? Never. He set down his glass. But you're here instead, so I suppose Victoria did me a favor. By standing her up? By creating space for something more interesting. Oh no. My stomach was doing somersaults. This was bad. This was Thaddeus Payne, a man who probably ate girls like me for breakfast and didn't even remember their names by lunch. The appetizers arrived. Something that looked like art on a plate. I stared at it, trying to figure out which utensil to use. Start from the outside, Thaddeus said softly, and when I looked up, his expression was almost gentle. Work your way in. Is that a metaphor? It's practical advice, though if you want to find deeper meaning in silverware, be my guest. I laughed, actually laughed, and something extraordinary happened. Thaddeus Payne smiled, not the almost smile. A real, genuine smile that transformed his entire face from intimidating to absolutely devastating. You should do that more often, I said before I could stop myself. Do what? Smile. You look less like you want to fire someone. I wasn't aware my resting face screamed imminent termination. It screams, I could buy your company and dismantle it before dessert arrives. He laughed. Actually, laughed. Low and rich and surprising. That's oddly specific. Forbes article, last month. Thaddeus Payne, the man who turns boardrooms into battlefields. You were holding a coffee cup on the cover, but somehow made it look threatening. You read Forbes? He seemed genuinely surprised. Dentist's waiting room. I have excellent teeth, but terrible dental insurance, so I read whatever's available during the wait. Show me. What? Your teeth. If you're going to claim excellence, I need evidence. Was he flirting? Was Thaddeus Payne actually flirting with me? I smiled wide, feeling ridiculous and somehow comfortable at the same time. Impressive, he conceded. Though I'm disappointed you didn't work a dentist romance into your blind date story. I was cleaning his teeth when I knew he was the one. That's terrible. I'm aware. Romance isn't my specialty. What is your specialty, besides corporate warfare? He considered this, swirling the wine the waiter had poured. Winning. That's not a specialty. That's a compulsion. Perhaps. He met my eyes. But I'm finding myself interested in something I never thought I'd pursue. What's that? Understanding why the woman at the wrong table is the first person in 5 years to make me forget about business for an entire hour. My breath caught. Outside, rain began to fall against the windows. Inside, something was shifting, changing, beginning. And for the first time in forever, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Dinner with Thaddeus Payne was like being caught in a lightning storm, exhilarating, dangerous, and you knew you should seek shelter, but couldn't make yourself move. We talked about everything. Books he'd read but never discussed because people expect me to only read financial reports. My disastrous attempt at making croissants that ended with the fire department in my kitchen. His admission that he'd once wanted to be an architect before his father groomed him to take over the company. Wait, I set down my fork, the main course half-eaten, because I was too fascinated by him to remember food existed. You wanted to design buildings? I was 16 and idealistic. He shrugged, but I caught something wistful in his expression. My father explained that dreams don't build empires. Discipline does. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. It's practical. It's heartbreaking. I surprised myself with my boldness. You gave up something you loved and built something powerful instead. His eyes locked on mine. No regrets. Liar. The word hung between us. For a moment I thought I'd crossed a line. Then Thaddeus laughed, that rich, unexpected sound that made my toes curl in my terrible shoes. You're dangerous, Clover Whitley. Me? I'm a coffee shop waitress who can't even sit at the right table. Exactly. You have no filter, no agenda, no fear. He leaned closer, and I could smell his cologne. Something expensive and woodsy. Do you know how rare that is in my world? I have plenty of fear, I admitted. I'm terrified right now. Of me? Of how much I'm enjoying this when I know it can't be real. Something shifted in his face. What if it could be? My heart stuttered. Thaddeus, I have a proposition for you. And there it was. The catch. The moment where the fairy tale crumbled. Of course, a man like him would have an angle. What kind of proposition? I tried to keep my voice steady. I need a date for the Grayson Foundation Gala next Saturday. It's the social event of the season. 500 guests, every major player in New York, and the press looking for any hint of scandal or weakness. And you want me because everyone expects me to arrive with someone polished and predictable. Victoria Ashford was supposed to be tonight's interview for the position. Position. The word tasted bitter. So this is a job? No. He said it firmly. This is an opportunity, for both of us. I don't understand. I'm tired of pretense, Clover. Tired of women who see me as a bank account or a status symbol. You sat at my table by accident, insulted me repeatedly, and made me laugh more in 2 hours than I have in 2 years. He reached across the table, his hand covering mine. The touch sent electricity through my entire body. Come with me to the gala. Be yourself. No performance, no pressure. You want to take a waitress in clearance dresses to the event of the season? I want to take you. The intensity in his eyes was overwhelming. We'll get you a proper dress, of course. Hair, makeup, whatever you need. My treat. That sounds an awful lot like Pretty Woman, and I should warn you, I don't look good in thigh-high boots. His lips twitched. Noted. But this isn't that. You'd be doing me a favor. These events are unbearable alone, and you make things interesting. I should have said no. Every rational brain cell I possessed screamed that this was insane, that I was out of my depth, that Cinderella stories didn't happen to girls from Brooklyn who burned croissants. But when I looked at Thaddeus Payne, really looked at him, I didn't see the tyrant of Manhattan. I saw a man who'd given up architecture, who hated pretense, who'd spent 5 years forgetting how to laugh until a wrong table changed everything. If I say yes, I began slowly, I have conditions. Interest sparked in his eyes. I'm listening. First, I pay for my own cab to and from the gala. I'm not a charity case. Agreed. Second, if at any point I want to leave, we leave. No questions asked. Reasonable. Third, I took a breath. You have to promise this is just one night. After the gala, we go back to our separate worlds. No complications. Something flickered across his face. Disappointment? But he nodded. If that's what you want. It wasn't what I wanted. That was the problem. What I wanted was impossible. It's what makes sense, I said softly. Then we have an agreement. He signaled for the check, then pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. My personal number. Text me your address. A car will pick you up Thursday at noon for shopping. Thursday, that's 2 days away. These things take time, apparently, or so my assistant tells me. He stood, helping me up with an old-fashioned courtesy that made my knees weak. Thank you for tonight, Clover, for the wrong table, for the laughter, for saying yes. I'm probably going to regret this, I murmured. Probably, he agreed, his hand warm on the small of my back as he guided me toward the exit. But I have a feeling you're going to be spectacular. As I stepped out into the rain, his jacket draped over my shoulders because he'd insisted. I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just agreed to something far more dangerous than a simple gala date. I'd agreed to spend more time with the one man who could break my heart without even trying. Absolutely not. I stared at the dress the boutique consultant, a woman named Margot who had cheekbones that could cut glass, held up. It was beautiful. Stunning even. Also completely see-through. It's Valentino, Margot said, as if that explained the lack of fabric. It's transparent, I countered. I can literally see the mannequin's underwear through it. The mannequin isn't wearing underwear. Exactly my point. A low chuckle came from behind me. Thaddeus sat in a velvet chair, looking completely at ease in the boutique that probably cost more per square foot than my entire apartment. He'd shown up at my place at noon sharp, taken one look at my neighborhood, and said nothing, though I caught him texting someone, probably his security team having a collective heart attack. Perhaps something more conservative, he suggested to Margot, his eyes never leaving me. Miss Whitley prefers to leave something to the imagination. How boring, Margot sighed, but disappeared into the back. I collapsed into the chair next to Thaddeus. I've tried on 17 dresses. 17. My arms are tired from all the zipper reaching. Only 30 more to go. I'm going to die here. They'll find my body buried under a mountain of tulle and broken dreams. Dramatic. He handed me a glass of champagne that had appeared from nowhere. But amusing. This is your world, I said, taking a grateful sip. Don't you do this all the time? I write a check. Someone buys the things. I wear them. He shrugged. I've never actually been shopping with someone before. Never. What about previous girlfriends? Something shuddered in his expression. I don't do girlfriends, Clover. I do arrangements. Mutually beneficial transactions with clear expiration dates. That sounds lonely. It's efficient. But he wouldn't meet my eyes. Margot returned with 3 new options, each more beautiful than the last. But it was the final one, a deep emerald silk that somehow looked both elegant and comfortable, that made me catch my breath. That one, Thaddeus said immediately. I haven't even tried it on. You don't need to. I can see it in your face. He stood, walking over to examine the dress. This is the one. He was right, damn him. The moment I slipped it on in the dressing room, I felt different. Not like I was pretending to be someone else, but like I was becoming a version of myself I'd never had permission to be. When I stepped out, Thaddeus went completely still. Well, I did an awkward twirl. Does it scream, accidentally sat at the wrong table, or intentionally crashing high society? It screams. He paused, and when his eyes met mine, there was something raw there. Breathtaking. The air between us crackled. Margot, sensing the moment, disappeared with impressive speed. "Thaddeus," I started, but he crossed the distance between us in 3 strides. "I need to tell you something." His voice was low, urgent. "Before Saturday. Before you walk into that gala on my arm." "Okay." My heart was racing. People are going to talk. They're going to speculate about who you are, where you came from, what you want from me. The press will dig into your life. It might get uncomfortable. Are you trying to scare me off? I'm trying to be honest. His hand came up, almost touching my face before he caught himself. Because the truth is, I asked you to this gala under false pretenses. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? I told you it was just one night, that we'd go back to our separate worlds after. He took a breath. I don't think I can do that. Thaddeus, let me finish, please. He ran a hand through his hair, looking more uncertain than I'd ever seen him. 2 days ago, you sat at my table by accident. You insulted my reputation, made me laugh, and asked me about dreams I'd buried for 15 years. Yesterday, I went to work and couldn't focus. Last night, I lay awake trying to understand why a woman in a clearance dress has completely derailed my carefully constructed life. That's not fair, I whispered. You can't say things like that. Why not? Because I'm already halfway to falling for you, and I know how this ends. The words burst out before I could stop them. You're Thaddeus Payne. I'm nobody. This is a fairy tale, and fairy tales don't work in real life. After Saturday, you'll realize I don't fit in your world, and I'll go back to making lattes in Brooklyn, and this will just be a really beautiful, really painful memory. He cupped my face in his hands. And God, the gentleness nearly broke me. What if you're wrong? He said softly. What if the reason you don't fit in my world is because you're supposed to change it? That's crazy. So is sitting at the wrong table and having it turn into the best night of my life. His thumb brushed my cheek. I'm not asking you to decide anything today. I'm just asking you to consider the possibility that maybe, just maybe, this isn't just one night. Before I could respond, Margot's voice called from the back, something about shoes and accessories. Thaddeus stepped back, the moment broken but not forgotten. Get the dress, he said. Wear it Saturday. Let me show you my world. And then after the gala we'll talk, really talk, about what this is and what it could be. And if I decide it's too much, too complicated, then I'll accept it. His smile was sad. But I'll also never forget the girl who made me remember what wanting something feels like. As I changed back into my jeans, the emerald dress carefully wrapped in tissue paper, I realized something terrifying. I didn't want this to be just one night either. And that was going to be a problem. The Grayson Foundation Gala was held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art because apparently regular ballrooms weren't fancy enough for New York's elite. I'd spent 3 hours getting ready, hair styled into soft waves, makeup applied by a professional who kept saying things like bone structure and natural radiance, while I tried not to sneeze from all the brushes. When the car pulled up to the red carpet, yes, actual red carpet with photographers, I seriously considered asking the driver to just keep going, maybe to New Jersey or Canada. Then Thaddeus opened my door, and every coherent thought evaporated. He wore a tuxedo like it was designed specifically for him, which it probably was. His hair was styled back, emphasizing those sharp cheekbones and amber eyes that pinned me in place. You're staring, he said softly, offering his hand. You're stare-worthy, I managed, taking his hand and stepping out. The emerald dress caught the light, and suddenly cameras were flashing. Smile, Thaddeus murmured, his hand on my lower back. And whatever you do, don't look terrified. Too late. I think I'm having a panic attack. You're having a moment of reasonable anxiety. There's a difference. He leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. Also, you're the most beautiful woman here, and I'm the luckiest bastard in Manhattan. The compliment steadied me. I smiled, genuinely, and let him guide me past the photographers shouting questions. "Mr. Payne, who's your date?" "Thaddeus, is this serious?" "Miss, what's your name?" Thaddeus ignored them all, but I caught his small, satisfied smile, like he enjoyed keeping them guessing. Inside, the museum had been transformed into something from a fantasy. Crystal chandeliers, string quartets, and women dripping in jewels that could probably pay off my student loans 3 times over. "Still breathing?" Thaddeus asked, accepting 2 champagne flutes from a passing waiter. "Barely." I took a long sip. "Do you know everyone here?" "Unfortunately." As if on cue, a couple approached. The woman was stunning, tall, blonde, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my car. The man beside her looked like he'd stepped out of a Ralph Lauren ad. "Thaddeus," the woman purred, "how unexpected to see you with company." "Victoria," his voice went cold. "I wasn't expecting you either. Thought you'd be busy with other business meetings." Oh. This was Victoria Ashford, the woman who was supposed to be at that dinner. Victoria's eyes raked over me with thinly veiled disdain. "I don't believe we've met. I'm Victoria Ashford." "Clover Whitley." I extended my hand, channeling every ounce of fake confidence I possessed. "Lovely to meet you." "Whitley." She didn't shake my hand. "I don't recognize that name from any of the prominent families." "That's because I'm not from a prominent family. I make coffee for a living." I smiled sweetly. "The good news is I can actually tell the difference between a cappuccino and a latte, which is apparently rare among the upper class." The man beside Victoria choked on his drink. Thaddeus's hand tightened on my waist. Whether in warning or support, I couldn't tell. Victoria's smile turned razor sharp. "How quaint. Thaddeus, I had no idea you were dabbling in charity work." "Careful, Victoria." Thaddeus's voice dropped to something dangerous. "Clover is my guest. Show her respect, or you and I are going to have a very different kind of conversation about that funding proposal you submitted last week." Victoria paled. "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did." He pulled me closer. "Excuse us. I see someone actually worth talking to." As we walked away, my hands were shaking. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I made it worse. You were perfect." He led me to a quieter corner. Victoria needed to be reminded that money doesn't buy class. I insulted her. "You defended yourself. There's a difference." He turned me to face him. "Clover, look at me." I did, fighting back tears of frustration. "You belong here," he said firmly. "Not because of your clothes or your family name or your bank account. You belong here because you're brilliant and funny and real. That dress, you make it beautiful. This gala, you make it bearable. And anyone who can't see that isn't worth your time. Even if that person is everyone in this room, even then." He brushed a strand of hair from my face. "Though I guarantee you're wrong. Want to know what I've overheard in the last 10 minutes? Probably not. Who is she? Look at how Payne looks at her. I've never seen him smile like that." His thumb traced my jawline. "You're not invisible here, Clover. You're unforgettable." The music shifted. A waltz began, and couples moved to the dance floor. "Dance with me," Thaddeus said. "I don't know how to waltz." "Then I'll teach you." He led me to the floor, one hand on my waist, the other clasping mine. "Follow my lead. Trust me." And somehow, in his arms, with half of New York's elite watching, I did. We moved together, and it felt less like dancing and more like flying. "This is insane," I murmured against his shoulder. "What is?" "All of it. You, me, this." I pulled back to meet his eyes. A week ago, I was serving coffee and dreaming about culinary school. Now I'm waltzing with a billionaire at the Met. Does it feel wrong? I thought about it, really thought about it. The stares, the whispers, Victoria's disdain, none of it mattered when Thaddeus looked at me like I was the only person in the room. "No," I admitted. "It feels terrifying and impossible and perfect." "Good. He spun me and I laughed, the sound echoing in the grand hall. Because I'm not letting you go back to just coffee and dreams. Not when you could have this. All of it. Thaddeus, after tonight, he promised. We'll talk after tonight. But right now, just dance with me. So I did. And for one perfect moment, I let myself believe that maybe fairy tales could come true. Even for girls who sat at the wrong table. I woke up to 17 missed calls and my face on the cover of the New York Post. Payne's mystery woman, from coffee cups to champagne flutes. The photo showed Thaddeus and me on the dance floor, his hand on my waist, both of us looking at each other like nothing else existed. It would have been romantic if the article beneath wasn't tearing apart my entire life. Clover Whitley, 26, works at Brewhaven in Brooklyn. Sources say she has student debt exceeding $40,000 and lives in a rent-controlled apartment in a questionable neighborhood. Friends describe her as sweet but directionless. The question on everyone's mind, what does Manhattan's most eligible bachelor see in a woman so ordinary? Ordinary. The word felt like a slap. My phone buzzed. Darcy's name flashed on the screen. Have you seen it? She asked without preamble. I'm living it. Clover, they're camped outside Brewhaven. Jerry had to call the cops to clear the sidewalk. And there's a reporter who keeps asking customers about you. I closed my eyes. This is a nightmare. This is what happens when you date a billionaire. Though seriously, why didn't you tell me? I had to find out from the internet, like a common peasant. We're not. I stopped. What were we? It's complicated. Complicated is forgetting to text back. This is headline news. She paused. Are you okay? I don't know. I looked at the article again, at the photo of me in that emerald dress, looking like I belonged. They're right, Darcy. I don't fit in his world. That's garbage and you know it. Another call beeped through. Thaddeus. My heart lurched. I have to go, I told Darcy. Call me later. And Clover? Don't let them make you feel small. You're extraordinary. I switched calls. Hello? Are you home? Thaddeus's voice was tight with controlled fury. Yes. Good. Don't leave. I'm sending security to your building. Security? Thaddeus, that's non-negotiable. The press is ruthless, and I won't have you harassed. He exhaled sharply. I'm sorry. This is my fault. I should have anticipated. How could you anticipate this? I looked at the article again. They called me ordinary. They're idiots. They're right. The words came out small. Look at this photo, Thaddeus. Really look at it. You're in a $10,000 tuxedo. I'm in a borrowed dress. You own buildings. I can barely afford my rent. This, us, it was a fantasy. A beautiful one, but stop. His voice cracked like a whip. Don't do this. Do what? Let them win. Let their narrow-minded opinions convince you that what we have isn't real. But what do we have? I demanded, frustration bubbling over. One dinner at the wrong table, a gala where I didn't belong, pretty words and impossible promises. Silence stretched between us. Then, quietly, I'm coming over. Thaddeus? I'm coming over, and we're having that talk, the one we postponed, right now. He hung up before I could protest. 20 minutes later, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Thaddeus in jeans and a simple black sweater, looking more devastatingly handsome than any human had the right to be. Behind him stood two massive security guards who positioned themselves in the hallway. Hi, I said lamely. He walked in, taking in my tiny studio apartment in one sweep. The futon that doubled as a couch and bed. The kitchenette barely big enough for one person. The single window overlooking a brick wall. This is where you live, he said. Yes. It's small and ordinary, just like... He kissed me. Not gently. Not tentatively. He kissed me like he was drowning and I was air, his hands cupping my face, his body pressed against mine. I melted into him. all my protests dissolving under the heat of his mouth. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. "Still think this isn't real?" he rasped. "Thaddeus." "I love you." The words hung between us, stark and honest. "I've loved you since you sat at my table and told me I looked threatening holding a coffee cup. I've loved you through every laugh, every smile, every moment you've been unapologetically yourself." Tears spilled down my cheeks. "You can't love me. You barely know me. I know you dream of making pastries that make people smile. I know you're terrified of disappointing the people you love. I know you think you're ordinary when you're the most extraordinary person I've ever met." He wiped my tears with his thumbs. "I know that for the first time in 15 years, I want something more than success. I want you, every morning, every night, every ordinary and extraordinary moment. The press will destroy us. Your business associates will judge you. People like Victoria will never accept. Let them try." His smile was fierce. "You think I've built an empire by backing down when things get difficult? You think I care what Victoria Ashford thinks about anything? But your reputation means nothing without someone to share it with." He rested his forehead against mine. "I've been alone in rooms full of people for years, Clover. Then you walked into my life by accident and suddenly I wasn't alone anymore. Don't ask me to go back to that, please." "I'm scared," I whispered. "So am I." He pulled back to meet my eyes. "But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. That's the corniest thing you've ever said. I know. It's your influence. You're ruining my reputation as a heartless tyrant." I laughed through my tears. "What if I'm not enough? What if you're everything?" He kissed my forehead, my cheeks, my lips. "Say yes, Clover. Not to one night, not to a gala. Say yes to this, to us, to figuring it out together." I looked at him, really looked at him. At the man who'd given up architecture, who'd spent years alone, who'd remembered how to laugh because I sat at the wrong table. "Yes," I breathed. "Yes to everything." His smile could have lit up all of Manhattan. "Good, because I already bought the building." "What building?" "This one. Your landlord was asking too much for rent. I negotiated a better deal. You're welcome." "You bought my building? Would you prefer I bought you a new apartment? Because I can do that too." "Thaddeus Payne, you're absolutely insane." "Yes," he agreed, pulling me close. "But I'm your brand of insane now." And really, what else could I say to that? 3 weeks of dating Thaddeus Payne taught me several things. 1, the man was incapable of doing anything halfway. When he said he loved me, he meant it with every fiber of his being. Flowers arrived daily. He'd show up at Brew Haven during my shifts just to steal 5 minutes with me. He'd canceled business trips to stay in New York. 2, being with him was like living in a spotlight. The press followed us everywhere. My Instagram gained 50,000 followers overnight. People recognized me at the grocery store. 3, I was completely, hopelessly, irrevocably in love with him, which made what was about to happen so much worse. "Clover, there's someone here to see you," Jerry called from the front of the cafe. "Says it's important." I wiped down the espresso machine and walked out front, expecting another reporter. Instead, I found a man in an expensive suit holding a manila envelope. "Miss Whitley, I'm Richard Chen, attorney for the Grayson Foundation." He handed me the envelope. "You've been selected as one of 5 finalists for the Culinary Scholarship Program." My heart stopped. "What?" "Full tuition to the Institute of Culinary Education, living stipend, apprenticeship placement upon graduation." He smiled. "It's quite prestigious. Only one candidate will be chosen." I stared at the envelope like it might explode. "I didn't apply for this. Someone nominated you. The anonymous nomination included samples of your work, letters of recommendation, and," he paused, "a rather compelling essay about your passion for pastry." Thaddeus. It had to be Thaddeus. "The final interview is tomorrow at 9 a.m. The board will make their decision immediately after. Richard checked his watch. Congratulations, Miss Whitley. This is a remarkable opportunity. After he left, I opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was everything he'd promised, plus a note in Thaddeus's handwriting. You said you dreamed of culinary school. Let me help make that dream real. T. I should have been thrilled. This was everything I'd wanted for years, but something felt wrong. That evening, I confronted him at his penthouse. You nominated me for the scholarship. Not a question, an accusation. Thaddeus looked up from his laptop, completely unrepentant. Yes, without telling me. I wanted it to be a surprise. He stood, crossing to me. Clover, you're incredibly talented. You deserve this opportunity. That's not the point. Frustration bubbled over. You can't just manipulate my life because you think you know what's best for me. I'm not manipulating. I'm helping. By going behind my back, by using your influence to... I stopped, a horrible realization dawning. The Grayson Foundation. You donated to them, at the gala. His silence was confirmation enough. Oh my God. I stepped back. You bought this for me. You bought my dream. That's not what this is. Then what is it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like the billionaire is playing fairy godmother, throwing money at the poor girl's problems. You're being ridiculous, he said, and it was the wrong thing to say. I'm being ridiculous? My voice rose. You made me a charity case, Thaddeus. Everything thinks I'm with you for your money, and now you've proven them right. No one thinks that. Everyone thinks that. I grabbed my phone, pulling up the latest gossip blog. Gold digger gets lucky. Payne's girlfriend awarded convenient scholarship. It's everywhere. He took the phone, his jaw tightening as he read. This is garbage. This is my reality. Tears burned my eyes. You live in a world where money solves everything. But I won't build my life on your wealth. I need to do this myself. Why? He looked genuinely confused. Why struggle when I can help? Because it matters. Because when I finally hold that diploma, I need to know I earned it. Not that my boyfriend bought it for me. So, what are you saying? His voice went cold, defensive. You're going to throw away this opportunity because of pride? It's not pride, it's self-respect. I grabbed my jacket. I'm saying that I love you, but I can't lose myself in you. I can't become the woman everyone thinks I am, the one who needs rescuing, who trades love for security, who's only special because of who she's dating. That's not who you are. Then let me prove it. The words came out as a sob. Let me apply for scholarships on my own merit. Let me work and save and earn this. Let me be more than just Thaddeus Payne's girlfriend. He stared at me, something breaking in his expression. I was only trying to help. I know. I touched his face gently. But sometimes love means stepping back, letting people struggle, letting them fail and succeed on their own terms. What if I can't do that? His voice cracked. What if watching you struggle is too painful? Then you don't really love me. You love the idea of saving me. I picked up my bag. I need some time, Thaddeus, to figure out who I am when I'm not standing in your shadow. Clover, wait. The interview is tomorrow. I'm going to decline the nomination. I met his eyes. And I'm going to apply next year on my own. And if I don't get in, I'll keep trying until I do. Because that's who I am. Someone who doesn't give up, even when the easy path is right in front of her. How long? His voice was barely a whisper. How long do you need? I don't know. The honesty hurt. But I need you to understand. I'm not leaving because I don't love you. I'm leaving because I do. Because I need to be whole before I can be part of us. I walked to the door, each step feeling like breaking. At the threshold, I turned back. Thaddeus stood in his perfect penthouse, surrounded by all his wealth and power, looking more lost than I'd ever seen him. For what it's worth, I said softly. Sitting at your table was the best mistake of my life. Then I left, before my heart could convince my head to stay. 6 months later. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning, exactly like the one that had started everything. Institute of Culinary Education. My hands trembled as I opened it. Dear Miss Whitley, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted. I'd done it. By myself. With my own application, my own essay. Samples of pastries I'd perfected over months of early mornings and late nights. No influence. No connections. Just me. I was crying happy tears when Darcy burst into my apartment. You got in? I knew you'd get in. She grabbed the letter. Oh my God, full scholarship too? Clover, you're amazing. I can't believe it, I whispered. I can. You're the most talented person I know. She paused. Have you told him? I didn't need to ask who she meant. No. Clover, what would I even say, Darcy? I'd spent 6 months trying to forget Thaddeus Payne. 6 months of no calls, no texts, respecting the space I'd asked for. It should have made things easier. It didn't. Hi, remember me? The girl who walked away? Well, I did the thing, so we're good now. How about I miss you? Darcy said gently. Because you do. You've been miserable without him. I've been focused. You've been lonely. She squeezed my hand. You proved your point. You can stand on your own. But love isn't about standing alone, Clover. It's about choosing to stand together. After she left, I stared at my phone for an hour before finally typing. I got in. I deleted it. Tried again. Can we talk? Deleted that too. Finally, I gave up and decided to go for a walk, clear my head, figure out what I actually wanted to say. I ended up at Lumiere. I don't know why. Maybe because this was where it all started, where I'd sat at the wrong table and met the right person. The same maitre d' was at the podium. He recognized me immediately, his eyebrows rising. Miss Whitley, we haven't seen you in some time. I was just passing by, remembering. I turned to leave. Table 18 is available, he said quietly. If you'd like to sit. Something in his tone made me look closer. He was smiling. Actually smiling. Did someone? Mr. Payne keeps it reserved. Every Tuesday evening, just in case. The maitre d' gestured toward the back. He's there now, actually. My heart stopped. He's here? Every Tuesday. For 6 months. Same table. Same time. The smile turned knowing. He orders 2 glasses of wine, drinks alone, leaves the other untouched. I walked toward table 18 like I was in a dream. Thaddeus sat exactly where he'd been that first night, but he looked different. Tired. Older. Like the past 6 months had worn on him the same way they'd worn on me. He looked up as I approached, and the expression on his face, hope mixed with fear, nearly broke me. Hi, I said, my voice barely working. Hi. He stood immediately. Clover, I got into culinary school. The words tumbled out. By myself, on my own merit. I started in September. Something shifted in his expression. Pride. Pure, uncomplicated pride. Of course you did. I never doubted it. I did. Doubt it, I mean. I twisted my hands together. After I left, I spent weeks thinking I'd made a mistake, that I'd thrown away something real because of stubborn pride. You didn't. He took a step closer. Clover, I've had 6 months to think about what you said, about love and control and letting people be who they need to be. You were right. I was trying to fix things instead of supporting you. I was being human, I interrupted. You were being human. Someone who loves someone and wants to help. You just went about it the wrong way. I bought an entire scholarship program, he said wryly. That's not the wrong way. That's completely overboard and deeply problematic. You're a work in progress. I'm a disaster who met a woman at the wrong table and fell in love with her intelligence, her passion, and her ability to call me on my bullshit. He reached out. then stopped, his hand hovering. May I? I closed the distance, taking his hand. The touch sent electricity through me, 6 months of missing him condensing into this single moment. I've been sitting here every Tuesday, he admitted, hoping you'd walk through that door, hoping you'd give me another chance to do this right. Do what right? Support you, not save you. Celebrate your victories without taking credit for them. Be your partner, not your benefactor. His thumb traced circles on my palm. I love you, Clover. I never stopped. But I understand if you need more time or if... I kissed him. 6 months of loneliness, of missing him, of trying to convince myself I'd made the right choice. All of it poured into that kiss. He responded immediately, pulling me close, his hands tangling in my hair like he was afraid I'd disappear. When we finally broke apart, we were both crying. I love you too, I whispered. I never stopped either. I just needed to know I could stand on my own before I stood with you. And now I'm ready, if you are. Clover Whitley, he said, his smile brighter than I'd ever seen it. I've been ready since the moment you insulted my coffee cup technique. I laughed, and it felt like coming home. So, what happens now? I asked. Now? He pulled out a chair, the same chair I'd sat in 6 months ago. Now you sit at the right table, with the right person, and we figure out the rest together. I sat down, and he sat across from me, and the waiter brought 2 glasses of wine without being asked. To wrong tables, Thaddeus raised his glass. And right endings, I added. We clinked glasses, and somewhere in New York City, a table that had once been wrong became exactly, perfectly right. 2 years later. Stop fidgeting. I'm not fidgeting. I adjusted my chef's jacket for the 3rd time. I'm expressing nervous energy through minor physical movements. Thaddeus laughed, pulling me away from the mirror. Your restaurant is about to open. You're allowed to fidget. Clover's, my restaurant, my dream, my name on a sign in Manhattan, was 30 minutes away from welcoming its first customers. The space was small, intimate, with only 20 tables. But it was mine. Every pastry in the display case, every dessert on the menu created by my own hands. What if nobody comes? I whispered. Darling, there's a line around the block. Has been since this morning. He kissed my forehead. And even if there wasn't, I'd fill every table with people I'd pay to eat here. You will do no such thing. Fine, but I'm allowed to be your first customer. He produced a small velvet box from his pocket. And to give you an opening night gift. Thaddeus, you already gave me... I gestured around the restaurant. He'd co-signed the loan when banks had laughed at me. Not a gift, a partnership. I was paying back every penny. This is different. He opened the box. Inside was a delicate gold necklace with a tiny 4-leaf clover charm. For luck, he said softly, fastening it around my neck. Though you've never needed it, you make your own luck. I turned in his arms, standing on tiptoe to kiss him. I love you. I love you more. Impossible. Want to bet? His smile turned mischievous. Because I have evidence. Before I could ask what he meant, Darcy burst through the kitchen doors. It's time! Your first reservation just arrived and, oh my God, are you two being disgustingly cute again? Always, Thaddeus said, not looking away from me. I took a deep breath. Okay, I'm ready. You're spectacular, he corrected. I walked into the dining room, Thaddeus beside me. The space glowed with candlelight and possibility. And there, at table 1, the best table in the house, sat an elderly couple holding hands. Welcome to Clover's, I said, my voice only slightly shaking. I'm Clover Whitley, the owner and pastry chef. Thank you for being here on our opening night. The woman smiled warmly. We wouldn't miss it, dear. Your young man has told us so much about you. I glanced at Thaddeus, confused. Mr. and Mrs. Grayson, he explained, from the Grayson Foundation. They wanted to see what their scholarship student accomplished. Oh my goodness. I felt tears threatening. Thank you for everything, for believing in me. Our dear Mrs. Grayson said, "We didn't give you talent. We simply provided an opportunity. What you've built is all you." The evening blurred past in a whirlwind of orders, compliments, and the pure joy of watching people taste my creations. Every satisfied smile, every, "Oh my God, this is incredible," every clean plate felt like validation. At midnight, after the last customer left and Darcy had gone home, I collapsed into a chair. Thaddeus sat beside me, loosening his tie. "You did it," he said simply. "We did it." I took his hand. "I couldn't have done this without you. Not the money, the belief, the support. The Tuesday dinners when I wanted to quit. You never would have quit." "No," I agreed. "But knowing you believed in me made the hard days easier." He was quiet for a moment, then stood, offering his hand. "Dance with me?" "There's no music." "There's always music with you." He pulled me close, and we swayed in the empty restaurant, the city lights twinkling through the windows. "Clover," he murmured against my hair. "Do you remember what I said that first night? About winning being my specialty?" "Yes. I was wrong." He pulled back to look at me, and his eyes held something that made my breath catch. "Loving you is my specialty. Building a life with you. Watching you become everything you were meant to be." He reached into his pocket and pulled out another box. Larger this time. My heart stopped. "I had a whole speech planned," he said, dropping to one knee. "About wrong tables and right moments. About how I've waited 2 years because I wanted you to have this. Your restaurant, your success, your independence. Before I asked, but the truth is simpler." He opened the box, revealing a ring that caught the candlelight. "Clover Whitley, you walked into my life by accident and changed everything. You taught me that love isn't about control or protection. It's about partnership and trust and believing in each other fiercely. You made me remember how to laugh, how to dream, how to be human." His voice cracked. "Will you marry me? Will you continue sitting at the wrong table with me for the rest of our lives?" I was crying, laughing, nodding all at once. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." He slid the ring on my finger, then stood, pulling me into a kiss that tasted like promise and forever. "I love you," I said against his lips. "Even though you're dramatic and bought my building and wait for me every Tuesday like a lovesick puppy." "I'm your lovesick puppy," he corrected. "The best kind." We stood there, in my restaurant, in our city, in the life we'd built together from one wrong table and infinite right choices. "So," Thaddeus said eventually, "about the wedding." I was thinking, "Something small," I interrupted. "Intimate. Maybe at Lumiere?" he finished. "Table 18? You read my mind." I've had practice. Outside, New York City hummed with life and possibility. Inside, surrounded by the sweet smell of pastries and the man I loved, I'd never felt more perfectly, wonderfully, impossibly home. Sometimes the wrong table leads you exactly where you're meant to be. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, it leads you to forever. The end.